Yeah, now, stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball podcast. Welcome back to this episode. This is the second part of a doubleheader. If you haven't heard the first, go back and listen to it. If you can't be bothered, that's all right. Just keep listening to this one, and hopefully you enjoy it. And don't forget, like and subscribe. I hate it when people say that.
You mentioned earlier about separating the pounds from people. It is a challenging time for everything these days. How big is the entertainment factor of going to a basketball game? Because I think we see behind the scenes with Portsmouth and obviously other teams and everything that we've spoken to. But from a Plymouth perspective, how important is the package of an entertainment as opposed to simply people looking at it as a game?
It's huge. I think I always used to work on the premise that when we were at the pavilions, that you had 50% of the people came to watch basketball. The other 50% had no idea what was going on, but they came to watch Foxy causing a bit of havoc, or they came to watch the cheer squad, or they just loved all the razzmatazz and all the things that went with it. So I was never naive enough to think that when we had 1,400 people watching a basketball game, that they were all there purely for the basketball. They're there because of the show. That is show business, isn't it? We've spent years in Plymouth almost turning basketball into something that at times looked a bit more WWE, because there's so much going on and you build these big characters to come and play for you. And I look at some of the guys over the years like Corey Dixon and the Keanu Roachfords and the Neil Watsons, and you go way back to the Terence Durhams and all the guys that we've had who just, the fans love these guys, and you send them into the schools and they talk about some of the challenges. We've had players that routinely were getting calls from back home in the States that, someone's been shot dead, and they'd come and, they were far from home. A lot of these guys would come to somewhere like Plymouth, and I'm sure the other pro clubs around the country. Often it's the first port of call for some of these guys coming out of American universities, and their agent says, "Hey, you want to go to Plymouth for 12 months?" And they go, "Well, where the hell's Plymouth?" "I don't know, someplace in England, and you might get a better job next year in Italy or somewhere, so go to Plymouth for a year." So these guys rock up at Plymouth and they have no idea where they are. It's the first time they've got a passport and they've come here. But you send them into the schools and they've got a real story to tell. There's nothing more powerful than when some big 6'8" guy walks into a classroom and a lot of these kids have never seen some of these guys. Wow, and they talk a bit funny, and it's just great. The power of sport and what I've been able to see over the years is just incredible, and I love it. This is a sport that has so much to offer, and it's not accidental that it's the second most played sport in the country, behind football. You go into any big city in this country now, and one of the things that basketball ticks the boxes around is just the cultural impact, whether it's the kids wearing the Air Jordans, or they're listening to kind of hip hop, or it's everything that feeds basketball is so unique, and there's no other sport like it. Really isn't.
Yeah, and look, just to throw a stat out there, and I know this because I've just done a master's, and I used it as a reference. In 2024, there was a study made, and basketball is the second most team-played sport currently in the UK for under 18s.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And growing, significantly growing. I mean, just look at London at the moment, see what's going down there. Yeah. So I just to touch on one thing you did say, Ross, which I 100% agree with, is there's this, the way I always look at it is there's the on-court, which is the game that people come and watch, and then you have this off-court, almost theatre, which is the stage, the build up the stage, where you've got the music, the mascot, the characters, the throwing stuff in the audience, the music, whatever it is. And you know what that is, as that takes so much time and effort. You wouldn't believe the amount of music that me and my brother go through.
True, isn't it? I've been there. I know exactly how you feel about it. Just trying to select tracks and listen to things. Is that going to work? Is that going to sound good?
It's a lot of value for the price of a ticket, especially if you're taking a family and people are getting a night out. There's not many things these days you can say are genuinely a good value.
Well,
you have a good experience.
Yeah, you're really entertaining people, I feel. And but sometimes we've done £1 a game just because we're feeling charitable, and the value of that is just like nuts. Is nuts. So yeah, but I really do feel there's these two entities that come together for a game. Like you got the squeaky shoes, the players on the court, and then this. I almost want to say like this juggernaut of people that come round that set this stage up for that to happen.
Plus all the volunteers, plus all the people who put in their own time and do other stuff that are in the backgrounds that no one ever sees or ever thinks about.
And I will say, if you took all that away, it wouldn't be as special. Nowhere near as special.
No.
The basketball would have to shine if it was just squeaky shoes. But yeah, so Ross, I got to ask, we've got you on the show, we have to ask you the question about just some of the thoughts you have with, I guess, the golden years of Plymouth Raiders in the BBL. Like, what was that like?
It was great. It was great to be around it. I was lucky enough to sort of, not just as a kid growing up, I remember my earliest memory of the Plymouth Raiders. I was about 11 years old, maybe 12 years old. It was like 1988. And I lived just down the road. My school, I literally lived on the same road as my school in Plymouth. And the Raiders team in the 1988 era used to use that school gym. And I literally just started playing because we had a teacher called Frank Pocock, who was an assistant coach at Raiders. He is Mr. Plymouth Raiders, and he still comes to our games now. He's a real part of the family. But he was our new school teacher at the time. He brought basketball to the school that nobody had ever played at the school before. And I was one of the kids that got bitten by the bug. And I remember one Monday evening just popping my head in after school, and the Raiders team were practicing. I'd never seen anything like it. We had a guy called John Miller who just tried out with the Boston Celtics, if you can imagine it, and he didn't make the cut. And he was like 6'11". You never seen anything like this guy. And I was mesmerized just watching these guys. I was like, I've not seen anything like this. I love football to watch it, but I've never played football. I never was into rugby. And this just grabbed my attention. And it was at that moment I decided that I was going to bust my ass and learn to play basketball. And I would go in, because this sports facility at my school had 2 gyms, and I would use the little gym every night after school on my own. They wouldn't let you do it now, but my PE teachers at the time were like, yeah, let me go in there for an hour after school and just shoot hoops. Did that religiously, most nights after school. Get on my bike, ride a couple of miles to Gary Stronach's coaching clinic. And then all those years later, I'd end up playing for him. And then last year, welcoming him back as part of our 40th All-Star weekend. And but yeah, what a journey. I'm very, very lucky to do what I do now with this club and be in the position of responsibility that I'm in. Because as an 11-year-old kid, all I ever wanted to do was be good enough to play for the Plymouth Raiders. And I pulled on a Plymouth Raiders jersey when I was 17 years old, and we were a Division 1 team.
Oh, wow.
So as a 17-year-old playing a Division 1 basketball game, just wow. It was like terrifying. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
I mean, it sounds like they've got the right person in leading the charge. It's nice hearing a story like that, because a lot of people don't always have that association necessarily with an organisation where they've grown up, aspired and admired, and have that. It's that real I want to say grassroots basketball in a way, but it's something that's so relatable to so many of us who don't get to the professional level, but that is their basketball journey.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go on. You're going to say something, Ross?
Well, I'll just say it's I'd be interested to get Rob's take on it. But there isn't a day that goes by where the weight, and it probably sounds dramatic, the weight of carrying the club.
You're dreaming about it, aren't you?
it's never, you just never take it lightly,
Yeah.
It's one of those things that if you really stop to think about it, you terrify you. You've got people that come and watch games, people buy the jerseys, and that you want to get up to D2 and you want to do all these amazing things. And I think if you stopped and really thought too much about it, you probably wouldn't sleep. But you embrace the challenge, and you accept the challenge, and you think, you know what, I'm not doing this on my own. I'm doing it with a group of people that really care about it. So this is what it's all about.
And with Plymouth in the BBL, I guess the actual pinnacle of that, would that be 2007 when with the BBL trophy win?
Oh, you probably think so. We always say the golden era, but genuinely it kind of was. We had a mix of some incredible Americans around that period, guys like Terrence Durham, Carlton Aaron, who came back for the All-Star game last year, 6'10". We used to call him Baby Shaq. And to be honest, that was a real story, because we went into that final in Newcastle at the old Newcastle Metro Arena. We weren't favourites. This is a dominant Newcastle team, arguably the greatest BBL team of all time, or club of all time, although Leicester might argue that point. And we went there, and if I'm honest, I think probably everyone, including Carlton Aaron, would admit that he hadn't been at all times, firing, and he just killed it in that game, just MVP, and just Plymouth Raiders won the BBL trophy. And in 2011, 2012, we then went on to make the BBL Cup and the BBL trophy again, but finished second to Newcastle Eagles in both of those finals. We just could not get a win in those two finals. So Raiders during its BBL era, we'd had a few runs. We made the BBL trophy final in Glasgow in 2017 and lost by 40 points to Leicester Riders. We were just a really terrible performance in that final, and then lost in the BBL trophy final to London Lions in April 2021. So we've been almost there, with that. But yeah, I think you've got to say, 2007 was the big one. And what was really nice when we had the All-Star game last year, Carlton flew Carlton back from Kansas, especially for the occasion. He's not been back to Plymouth since that year. Gary Stronach obviously came back for that. And I was given Carlton's MVP jersey about 6 months prior, and it'd just been in a box. So when we knew we were going to fly Carlton back for the All-Star game, and he had no idea about it, I managed to get that jersey framed. And, on the court before the game, we presented him with his MVP jersey from that 2007 game, which he never wore.
That's cool. Love
really
a jersey.
Cool.
Love a framed jersey.
And it's hanging on his wall back in Kansas City. So
he would have loved that.
Yeah,
Don't know how he got that back, but he would have gone. That's amazing. That's really cool.
This guy you've ever seen. This was a big dude, lovely guy.
No, that's very, very, very
That's
cool.
very cool. Ross, I hope you don't mind this question. On the subject of the BBL, I'm hesitant, Mark, to ask this. Maybe I don't think it's too bad.
I'm not. What is it?
I'm just curious if Ross, if you have an opinion or want to voice, you don't have to. What your opinion is of like the BBL coming to its demise, the birth of the SLB, and then all of this drama with the BBF and the GBBL coming not next season but the following season.
And also, just to add the end of it, the real question at the end, which is, if they came knocking and said we want a Plymouth team, What would you say?
Like, do you see yourself in that? Like, what's your view on those entities? And do you visualize or think, oh, where could we fit in?
Well, first, I've got a great amount of respect for the remaining Super League teams because
100%,
really most of the key protagonists are people that I actually, they were fellow owners during my period. So, Kevin Routledge, Sarah up at Sheffield, Paul Blake, all these guys, all people that, I sort of rubbed along with during that period and faced all those challenges and so on with of running a BBL team. So I know how tough it is. And for those clubs, Ben Thomas and his family that have done such a great job at Cheshire over the last few years. So, first and foremost, massive respect to those guys. They're still in the game, still doing what they're doing in an ever more difficult climate. I'm pretty sure that they all went into the 777 deal with the greatest of intentions. And I don't think anybody could have forecast, how that was going to end up. And actually, when you look at the parallels between what happened with 777 and the BBL clubs and what we took on with the Turks, there are some crazy similarities. You sort of give yourself over to an outside organization that you really believe are going to come in and help take you to the next level. And the landscape changes, the tectonic plates shift a little bit, something happens, and suddenly you're left in a really terrible position. And those guys did what they had to do last year to keep the game on life support. I don't know what happened with the BBF. I'm pretty sure only a very small number of those guys are really, got the inside track on it. And I'm at a loss really to explain how we're in this situation that we're in. The game has never looked more divided at that level, fragmented. And it's hard to see how this is going to get resolved, because if the Super League teams have made it abundantly clear that they don't want to work with the BBF and the GBBL consortium. So we don't know what it's going to take. No, I don't know anybody knows what it's going to take. And obviously now we've seen over the last few days this announcement that they're not going to grant a license for the teams to play like Manchester in European competition. So,
and that feels weird because there is no GBBL next season, is there? So it feels,
season after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, why not grant that next season? I don't know if that's toys out the pram or it's just like, no, we've committed to these guys. Maybe the GBBL guys have gone, no, like we've got it. No, I don't know.
No, I mean, it's fair to say that obviously
we'd like English teams in Europe, wouldn't we? Yeah, British teams.
Look, if we were all sat around a table, there was no mics on and stuff, we might have a slightly more open conversation in that respect. We completely understand certainly your positioning. Maybe we should put it another way and say, how do you think it hurts British basketball with the continued
split
runaway train that seems to be? It was the BFBF, then it was the SLB, then it's going to be the GBBL, and it doesn't matter who's involved or what fingers. We're not pointing over that. It's just, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's to blame at some point, but the reality is it's the fans that hurt, it's the players that hurt. And when you're looking, as you've rightly pointed out earlier in the podcast, you're looking for investors, you're looking for fans, you're looking for that sort of thing to come into the sport, not fend it off.
I will say we're talking about it, which is good. As long as you're talking about it, it is all good. I do think the BBF have to take a lot of the responsibility for this.
Does seem like they've set the house on fire a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, they lead the game. I mean, obviously, when you're looking for direction, I guess they're the guys that you're looking to. So when it looks as dysfunctional as it is, you've got to start at the top, surely. Again, I'm not in possession of all the facts, but I certainly don't know really what happens. Probably like most people with this tender process, you have to take people at their word, and it sounds like the application process was one where there was a lot of money required to be put up front just to even engage in the tender process. So I don't know, but it seems like the whole thing seems avoidable. So the BBF must have had some misgivings from the outset. as to why they didn't properly engage with the Super League teams. Maybe there is something that goes back to the 777 era that none of us know about, because quite clearly the BBF have got some kind of issue with the governance of the SLB to not want to put the faith in them to carry the game forward. It would be far easier if the BBF actually came out and put the cards on the table and said, look, we just did not have the confidence that the Super League guys had the ability to, to carry this forward. And that's one of the reasons. And I think there's so much opaqueness around this and why we've arrived where we're at. I think we're at a time that people just need a level with the fans, because I think the elite game in this country, London Lions announced yesterday that pretty much their entire team was leaving. Pretty much everyone.
And those players and those when you're looking at them, you think we're not just talking about talent that's coming in from other countries like America or Europe, and they were, at certain times using the UK, rightly so, and in a good way, as an entry point to either going back to the States or playing in Europe or whatever. So we had some really good caliber players. Now they're talking about maybe visas not being applied for and stuff. Suddenly the UK doesn't look like a hotspot anymore. And you think, well,
it feels a bit vindictive, if I'm honest, about this stuff.
Doesn't help the sport, does it?
It's like an act of self-harm against the sport that you're governing. It just doesn't make sense to me, because really all this is doing is just like throwing open these divisions into full public gaze, and again, if you're looking for investors to come in, they're going to take one look at this, and does it pass the smell test? It really doesn't. No. You look at everything that's happened with 777, and you kind of think, do you know what? If I'm going to put a few million quid in this, it doesn't look like a good idea right now. So nobody's winning. Nobody is winning from this. And actually, the fans, again, we've spoken about how tough it is for people economically. People are going to start turning away from the game. You're going to go and watch a movie on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday night or whatever. Or you're going to take the family for a meal. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to invest my money in basketball, because the payoff just isn't there right now. I cannot invest emotionally in a team and a sport right now that doesn't have my back as a fan, and that's what we're really looking at, aren't we?
Yeah.
And but I think there are some winners from this. I think the NBL can win from this. I think I hear the rumor mill like everybody else about what Division 1 are doing, and so on. And
what rumors have you heard then, Ross?
Well, I know what I would be doing right now, if I'm being completely straight with you.
Do it. Be straight. Let's have it.
I would be looking to set up or rebrand Division 1. I would be looking to rebrand Division 1 as the basketball championship and do what football have done, and give the old Division 1 a bit of a sexy lift and give it a bit of an overhaul. And whether that's with BE or without BE, but I would be looking to set a new standard with Division 1. You've got some amazing clubs in there. And I've had the fortune of dealing with quite a few of them. They're brilliantly run clubs like Reading and Nottingham now with Russell there. And, Hemel and what those guys have done. Essex Rebels have got an amazing facility. You've got Vince now. I know Vince really well. An amazing bloke, one of the biggest characters in British basketball, and he owns the Cavaliers. So I think Division 1 is all set to do something really, really good here. Is it going to team up with the Super League teams? Who knows? I think there's going to be some interesting things develop over the next few months, because those Super League teams have got to do something. But I feel that Division 1 has got something exciting up its sleeve.
Yeah.
Is that fragmenting again, if that makes sense? Because it's the nature of British basketball, isn't it? Let's fragment something.
Ross built that up as the championship. Yeah. So it's not saying this is where you go.
Some of the SLBs might move into that, and then some of the others might into that, and it's.
What I did like what the SLB was their cup competition, their trophy incorporated.
I think that's what we're
some
talking
National League teams. And I love
Yeah.
that because, again, a bit like the FA Cup in football, it brought this kind of romanticism back into basketball, where it's just like, and I said this on the show, I would love to see that expanded to maybe multiple rounds before the SLB clubs actually go into the competition. So let's say us three could be sat here and go, we're going to start a basketball team and we're going to try and win the SLB trophy.
Yep.
And we'll have the opportunity to play a game and we get knocked out, whatever. I mean, that's what the FA Cup is. You've got the first round, but there's like 11 preliminary rounds before you get to that round one, which we start seeing the draw.
It's the football model, isn't it? That's
I'd
what you're
love
talking
to
about,
see
Ross,
that.
with the championship sort of thing.
But when you have like the derby,
but we've seen it tied in for years, haven't we? We've seen like you look at the Panathinaikos, you look at all of the EuroLeague teams. They're all Real Madrid. They're all connected with a basketball team.
Yeah,
and that model for supporters works.
With, like Northern Tigers, you know, we used to have obviously the Everton involvement and things. So we have seen it. It's not completely an unknown phenomenon. But I think, I mean, football now is just such a behemoth. It probably doesn't need to expand its interests because it's just so big in its own right. So I think.
But it's a crowd model and it's a league model more than anything that people can get on board with because they understand. But when you do have that, the one thing that I know SLB teams were very much against was relegation, and the reality of that, like the NBA, there's no relegation. It's just you finish last, that's it. Next season, off we go. Whereas obviously in the NBL, there is relegation, and there as well as ascension. It's
the whole franchise model, isn't it? You don't buy a franchise to then
lose money because it gets put down. Yeah,
I do love something Ross said actually, which really resonated with me, is what he said about the BBF. It'd be great if they just created a bit of transparency, a bit of clarity for the UK fans. Just said, you know what, this is the reason, and you go, okay, cool, right. But one of the things that probably the only thing I don't really like about UK basketball, and you see it every now and then, this dark cloud comes over a club or the chair or whatever it is, and just something happens. And it's like, oh yeah, 5 players have just left a club and they've been banned, and that's it. Yeah, no one will go into detail, or and I 100% get the concept of there's a product and they want this product to be positive all the time, but it's I don't know, sometimes it feels a bit fake if when there's something bad we're not going to talk about it, but we're only going to talk about positive stuff.
Treat people like idiots, that's the problem. There's no transparency.
So if the BBF said, look, this is it, this is our decision, deal with it, okay, we could deal with that.
Yeah.
But you don't have the top Premier League in the country without Newcastle Eagles, without Leicester, without Caledonia, even though they finished bottom this year.
Doesn't matter.
You need those teams.
Yep. And you need, that's why we were saying before, like we said when they were doing this, I'd be like, there's no Plymouth. It sounds wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there should be a Southwest team. There's no Southern representation otherwise.
But I will say this the other way around as well.
Yep.
The SLB teams, they need the GPL.
100%.
They need the BBF. They need that. Like, I want to see those teams in Europe.
Yep.
And if that's the only way they're going to do, it's almost, we just need someone to just bat all their heads together, form this big league of 20 teams and go, right, let's go.
It comes even simpler than that. Who put the BBF in charge? That's where it really comes down to, because it's their FIBA appointed.
Who do the BBF answer to? I guess that's the question, isn't it?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah.
They don't. It's FIBA. It's literally FIBA. The reason everything that you see in all the papers.
FIBA on. Get them on the show.
Well, we're going to go to Switzerland to do that. But look, FIBA, the BBF are in the UK, the FIBA appointed basketball, I guess, the license holders. So they're the ones who can put and say, you're a licensed team, you're officially licensed to go to Europe. So it doesn't mean that these teams can't go there.
Ross said, who are they accountable to? That's really
They're not. It's the same as who's our government accountable to. Well, technically they're accountable to the people, but it doesn't matter who's in power, what colour they wear, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. We know they're not. They're all law unto themselves.
So Ross, where do you foresee, like in say 5 years, 10 years, where in a ideal situation, where's Plymouth?
5 years or 10 years?
You tell me, tell me the dream. Where do you want to see it?
Well, I don't want to fall into the trap of the 5-year plan, I should say, because I've heard a few 5-year plans over the years, and they invariably never work out. So
let's say no time frame. Where will Plymouth be when you're sitting in your chair going, we've made it?
So if within 5 years we haven't at least navigated one promotion and we're knocking on the door of a second promotion, I'd be slightly disappointed. So within 5 years, I'd like us to be upwardly looking towards Division 1. I think that would be a fair place to pitch our intentions and our ambitions. And it's achievable. We have a lot of good things going for us here. With the landscape opening up for Raiders now, especially with the deal that we've announced today, we're in a really, really strong position to just pull everything together and stop a lot of what we've seen on the ground here in Plymouth over the last couple of years, where it's been very divisive. And I think if we can at least start pulling people together on this inverted commas journey, we stand a better chance of doing it together than from cannibalizing the same group of young players and this, that, and the other. We need to be working together, and it all needs to be pushing in one direction.
I would actually say I genuinely believe, and I've said this to Mark off the air. Actually, I said it to you on the night that I saw Plymouth play with you. That is the best team in the league, if it wasn't for them, those injuries at the start of the season, I genuinely believe you'd be in Div 2 now. Yeah. And you know what? I've just remembered what I said to you on that night. I don't think Plymouth are the best team individually, but I think as a team they are the best team. When they're all playing together,
that's a proper team.
They are a proper team. And it's it's not like some of those teams where you take on and go, okay, cool, they got 2 good players, stop them, that's the focus. Yeah. Plymouth have got multiple angles they're coming at you from. And it's like, you know what, you've got to beat 12 players here, plus a coach on the bench who's going to be adjusting everything that you were doing. They were the best all-round team I saw. And if it wasn't for those injuries, I generally believe you would be in Div 2 now.
Yeah, 100%. So next season it is.
Yeah. It kind of feels that it kind of feels that it was a missed opportunity. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm also, I look at what the guys at Portsmouth are doing, and I know that they're going to come again. Look at the pre-Christmas form. It's like 10 wins, unbeaten. It's like we were all looking at Portsmouth, and it was getting embarrassing for the rest of us. If I'm honest with you, it was kind of like, you're going to run away with it. So. That's genuinely what it looked like going into Christmas. It's like, well, it's a shoo-in.
I think Portsmouth, it was 11 wins, 0 losses. That was how Portsmouth started. And the only thing that worried me about Portsmouth's form is when I looked at it, it was like a 2-point win, a 1-point win, a home win by 4 points.
4 points, yeah.
And I was looking at that just going, you know what? There's one or two plays. Helped. If that didn't go our way, or one of our players came on, subbed on, bam, hit 2 big threes, and they won the game by 2. You think if that didn't happen, we could easily be mid-table.
No, I'd go further than that. I would say if there wasn't 400 other people there at the game and there was noise, that makes it, as you all know, Ross. You get that home advantage. Yeah. I mean, look, Ross, we had it right at the very beginning of when Rob was there with Paul when they were doing this full force to start it off with. And Paul was saying to me, look, we're going to do some music, we're going to do the stuff for it. Paul used to have battles with the referees about making music and bringing atmosphere because they were like, you can't do that. And Paul actually got the rule book out, read it through, was reading some saying, show me in the rule book where it is I can't give an atmosphere. And they're saying it's an advantage. He's like, yeah, it's called home court. What's your take on that?
So we've never had, we've it's really bizarre.
You've never had any referees say anything?
I can't recall it, no. I think it's become such a part of the fabric of basketball in Plymouth, and when people come to Plymouth, they just know that's what we do.
Brilliant.
I mean, I genuinely believe that because we've been doing that for so long, whether it's the pavilions or whatever, it's become a staple of just Plymouth basketball. I haven't been aware of the situation, and I'm happy to be corrected by someone who will say, you can't play that music. You know, you can't when the guy misses the free throw, you can't play that Gorillaz piece of music where he goes, ah, 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 ah. You can't do that, you know, or you can't play Bye 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 from NSYNC when the guy gets fouled off because it's unsportsmanlike.
Oh, I play Hit the Road Jack.
You making notes?
No, I play Hit the Road Jack when someone gets fouled out. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you go?
It's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Everybody should be doing this stuff. Everybody should be doing this stuff. I mean, look, we've all heard the dun 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 dun. You know, the guy on the organ at the Madison Square Garden. You know, it's sort of, it's like it's the game. It's what people want. It's just kind of it's what we.
It's the entertaining package, and I think
I have to say that
Portsmouth do it, Plymouth do it, and the attendance is significant. We're talking hundreds, and you go somewhere else and there's 20, and you think, okay, like, you know, but Basketball England came to a few of our games and they were very, very positive about it. But like Mark said, I've struggled with referees. Like, they come in and they'll say, right, are you playing music?
Not always the travelling refs. It will be saying that some of the ones who've travelled in.
Yeah, more the local ones. But that they will, most games, the referee will go and ask the opposition, are they happy? Are you happy for these guys to play music? And I'm just like, well, if you come back and say no, what am I going to do? Like, because
turn it up.
There is no rule book to say I can't play this. Like, and I really find that confusing with the referees locally. Like, they're just, around our area, there's just like, if I was the away coach, I would turn around and say, no, I don't want the music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go, right, I'm going to psychological, no, I don't want the music, and I'm going to play that card and see what happens. And I've talked about this with Rob, and it is a moment where we will turn around and say, what do we do? Do we forfeit the game? And the referee pays for the whole court?
Yep.
If BE turn around and say, no, there's nothing. There is nothing in the rule books. And just another example, Ross, like, do you know, you'll remember, in the 80s, you've got the Miami Vice music and people were shooting. So what we do, I don't know if we did it the night you were there.
Yeah.
It's a layup, a free throw, 3-pointer, half court shot. The music lasts 30 seconds. I have the players ready to go. Music kicks off within 10 seconds of that timeout. The guys do it. No one's done it yet. And I'm walking off the court. The balls are off the court. I'm walking off the court. And a referee's having a go at me saying, you cannot do this because it is a timeout. And I'm just like
it's entertainment.
It's not affected anything. Like, I'm going to sit back down for another 20 seconds. And I genuinely believe it is a power trip with referees. That's what I think. Because it is painful.
So we had a player who's he's still very close to the club. He's a good pal of mine called Jonas Järvelainen. And Jonas is a sort of 6'7" Estonian from Tallinn. And he joined us in 2017. He's with us from 2017 to 2019. Became somewhat of a cult figure. And bald-headed, very serious demeanor, super guy, one of the highest IQ basketball players I've probably met. But he's a very high IQ guy in general. Just brilliant. And because we nicknamed him Hitman, off like the, agent, what was it called? Agent, oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the
like
Hitman.
Yeah, Hitman. So whenever he scored, and he had this absolute sniper three-pointer, and whenever he hit a big three, we'd have a gunshot ring out. And we took it off, it was off the James Brown Tupac soundtrack from Django Unchained. There's like a gunshot. And whenever he made a three-point shot, that would ring out. And this is at the Pavilions, so it was all real highly calibrated audio setup. And honest to God, when that gunshot rang out at the Pavilions, there's no way that NBL referees would allow that sort of thing. I think we wouldn't. I don't know whether we'd get away with that at the Life Centre now.
Fantastic. Bring it back.
And we used to play KRS, Sound of the Police, the sort of whoop whoop into something.
Even better.
I just don't know if you can get away with that stuff anymore.
But I will say I mean, there's not just
one way to find
there's
out,
not
Ross.
one rule book. There is like, there's so many different guidelines, but there's like 20 different guidelines, and I went through all of them. And the only thing I kind of found about announcing, and I 100% agree with what BE have done, is like you can't say anything derogatory. You can't run people down. And I 100% support that. And it says you can be enthusiastic for the home team. Okay, cool, brilliant.
Yeah.
They're the rules. Music or music direction doesn't come into it. But again, I'll go back to the point. The numbers don't lie.
No.
The attendance numbers don't lie.
We're talking about two NBL Division 3 teams that have attendances over 400 people.
Well, these 700.
Exactly.
We're 500.
Exactly. And it's like,
And we're at capacity there.
yeah, and these are NBL Division 3 teams. The other teams they got coming up, you might have 40 people, mum and dad, a couple of girlfriends, and a few mates. Like, it's a different thing, isn't it? And it's hopefully
we played our worst games when we went to, and I won't name them, but we went to a couple of clubs that literally play in a bit of a rundown sports facility, and we played our worst games. We lost the games because, and I think that's one of the reasons that, we came to Portsmouth and we enjoyed so much playing at your facility there, because that felt a bit like home to us. So that's what gets our players motivated, is when they see crowds and the music and things. So, and I'm pretty sure that probably was similar when you came to us, is that it lifts you because that's what you're becoming accustomed to. And then when you go to another club and there's literally 10, 15 people there, and the sidelines go virtually right up against the wall, and the toilets don't work, and this, that, and the other, it kind of, you lose faith really at this level of the game. You kind of think, well, we're trying to do what we're doing, and then we have to drive 2 miles down the road to get a shower at a different facility, and then we've got a 4-hour drive home, and you kind of think, it's like you feel a bit let down really. You just think and then I had a conversation with someone about it, and they were like, well, we can't afford to play in a different venue. I said, well, how do you think I afford to play at the Life Centre?
Yeah.
Because I have to go out there and knock on the doors that raises the money, and by raising the money we can afford to play in this venue, and then by playing in this venue we can sell tickets, and it's like the circle of life. You make one thing happen and suddenly everything else falls into place. So what I'm doing here is no different and what you're doing is no different than what a lot of other clubs could do. You just got to get out there and do it. So again, that's the one thing I'm not looking forward to at this level in Division 3, is we're going to have to trudge around some of those places and bring ourselves up to those games.
Well, Ross,
they all see the ducks swimming along. They never see the feet pedaling away underneath, do they? That's how it works.
Ross, I got a treat for you guys when you come down.
Yeah, well, we're going to turn the music off because Ross said apparently that motivates him. So if we turn the music off, then he's definitely giving us a win there.
Put an audio track of tumbleweeds for the whole time.
Now
we'll get some crickets playing.
I've got a new sound system coming. Well, sorry, it's here now. So the speakers that we did have been sent back to the supplier, and I've got even a larger speaker with subwoofers coming in. That is nuts. The subwoofers.
You rent this stuff in?
Say again.
Do you rent this stuff, or
no,
did you buy it?
We own it. Like, the club, or I own it. But what I will say is these speakers, the subwoofers are so big, it's like I'm trying to work out like transport. So it's going to be the bass is going to be nuts. It's going to be absolute nuts in there next time. So, but yeah, that'll be a nice treat for you guys when you come down.
Can't wait. I can't wait. Genuinely, it was a highlight for us. Apart from the transport,
take a spare key. You need a spare key next time.
I mean, look, this is
and pliers.
It's nice having a positive conversation about basketball in the UK. It's really nice to have that. I think it's nice to have these healthy conversations about it. Ross, if you could sort of, I won't say frame it all up and speak to an audience. Obviously this audience, but all of the supporters of people, of any of the teams within Plymouth, and, just in one voice, give them a message about what they could do to help the team and lift basketball in Plymouth. What would you say to them?
just at whatever level, whether, you know, if your son or your daughter play, get behind it, support them, just do whatever you can. If you're a local business, and as tough as it is at the moment for businesses, if you can support through sponsorship, whatever you can do, if you can loan some equipment, if whatever it takes, and it's not just a basketball thing, it's a sport thing, because as we've said, you know, there's a lot of young people out there that sport can change their lives, and sometimes they just need a helping hand, whether it's just push them in the right direction or help them acquire a pair of trainers or whatever it takes, or just get them a membership for 20 quid a month at their local gym or whatever. Just direct them, help them, support them. And there isn't a one size fits all approach to that either. We're just fortunate that because we're a 42-year-old basketball club, it takes time to build the level of support that we have, and it's a generational thing. So you've just got to stay focused on the journey. You've got to always, I think, act in the best interest, like we try and do with our fans, and be honest and straightforward. But engage with the audience, engage with the kids. I can't stress enough how important Foxy has become to us over the decades, because when we go to Derriford Hospital, to our local NHS trust at Christmas, and we take a sack full of the presents, and we go and see those kids and their parents, and those kids are going to be in hospital over Christmas, and it's very, very emotional for all of us who do that, who go and see them. You know, but the smile on their face when Foxy walks in, and it's just priceless. You know, we do that. We make sure we engage with the community in so many different ways.
That's amazing.
I've been lucky enough. I've been to a parent daycare centre in a part of town where, you know, it is a low income area, and people are struggling. And we go down there. A couple of the players show up. Foxy turns up, and we just go down there. We don't have to do anything. We just have to just talk to people and listen to people, and drink some coffee and eat their cakes, and just be there to just, you know, to just hang out with them and listen to the stories, and just be visible, and make these people feel that you care about what they're doing and what their situations are. That's and fantastic. I just think we've all got a responsibility within our own ways to engage with our community at whatever level, whether a D3 team, a BBL team. You know, these are people that may one day want to come and support you. But I think, there's no one size fits all with it. But we have to take our our social and corporate responsibility really, really seriously. And I know you touched on a thing where, you know, at the top of the game, we've seen, you know, players exit clubs, and there's been no discernible reason for that. You know, suddenly, you know, it's like that my son's favorite player has suddenly left, and the club hasn't told us why. And for me, it's a dereliction of duty. You know,
absolutely.
It's kind of you gotta engage, and I think that's the one word I can probably use which sums up everything that we're trying to do, is engage.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And we actually did a show last week where we were talking about the Surrey players from a few years back. And one of the things I think I highlighted and said, basketball is a bit like a family. There might be some bad news, and, you know, you're a bit upset by it, but you'd rather have that bad news, and you're going to go back to them because you love it and it's part of you.
I couldn't agree more. I look at our supporters and their grands now, and their, you know, grandparents, and when they were coming 30 years ago, they were young parents themselves, and they are part of the family. And there's never a time in a family where everything works out smoothly, you know. And yeah, it's I think really it goes back to the heart of why I wanted to do something with the Raiders and bring it back. So I guess in a full circle moment, you look at it and you think, why did I want to do this? Because you feel that, you know, you take the personalities out of it, you know, the club meant something to so many people. And I saw people in tears when the Raiders went down. And it's kind of like, that's the only sports team. I'm not interested in football. I'm not interested in rugby. The Raiders were my team. I supported them through thick and thin, and now they're gone. And I'm not even joking. It makes me emotional, just I've seen people get so upset about it. And that was one of the reasons that I just thought, you know what? I might be able to do something about this. And that is really what motivated me to do it. And if we stayed a D3 team for the next 10 years, well, so be it. If it puts a smile on people's faces and they want to come and pay £7 to come and watch us, and they can afford to come and watch us, and they have a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon coming to watch us do that, then you know what? For me, that's success. And the fact that we've even got a team running after what we've been through over the last few years, that's success. If we get to D2, we get to D1, well, that's dreamland. But, let's just take one step at a time.
I don't think it's if, I think it's when. But yeah, well said. That's very well said. It's
I think that's a fantastic summary for
absolutely
Plymouth. But Mark, look, before we let Ross go, I know you got your last two questions. Come on, shoot.
No, Ross, you've gone through some toils, you've gone through some challenges, but this may be the most difficult of all. First question: basketball, clutch shot. It's the game winner. Any player, who would you pass it to?
I like to phrase this: the shot to save the world. If you were going to have one basketball player to shoot,
God, you like drama,
to save, playing against the aliens to save the world, who would that player be?
I think after last summer's Paris performance, it's probably got to be Steph Curry.
Steph.
Yeah, Steph's made it a few times. I think he's been in that.
I think I could reel off a number of players, like people like Larry Bird, guys like Kobe Bryant, but I think Steph Curry has positioned himself as the greatest shooter of all time, and I think if you're going to call on anybody to make that shot, probably that guy.
Well,
great answer.
Probably.
Great answer, and hold that thought on those other players, because the second part of this
Five and Pine, Mark.
is the five and pine where it gets spicy.
We did have a little jingle for this, but I don't think
We got the five.
Mark likes it.
No, don't. We got the five on the court. Any players you can pick, your top five, and then you got one riding the bench. And because of your position, you've got to pick a coach to coach them as well.
Oh God. Well,
How would you say because of Ross's position, he has to pick a chairman instead? The chairman of those five.
He is Mr. Chairman.
But he could put himself as the chairman of those
I
players.
think this is almost going to go one way. So it's going to be Jerry. It's going to be Jerry Buss. Obviously, the Lakers franchise got sold yesterday.
Yep.
Was it
it's going to be Jerry
10
Buss.
billion, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be Pat Riley.
Oh, Pat Riley. What, player or coach?
Coach.
Pat Riley.
As a coach. And then
Are
really,
you about to just list the Showtime Lakers?
I think you can see where this is going. You've got to,
It's still
You've gotta
it's
have
an amazing pick though. Even if you did,
you've got to have Jordan in there. You've got to have Kobe Bryant. I mean, man, there's just so many people you can list. I'd want Dennis Rodman probably in there somewhere, just because it's Dennis Rodman, and there's your BBL connection there as well.
Yeah. All time rebounds in a game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Gaz Laws played in that game. There's a photograph of Gareth Laws marking Dennis Rodman during that game. I think Gaz was playing for Sutton Pumas at that time.
Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to him about this next time I see him.
So yeah, there's a photograph that Gareth has of him, like they're going up for a rebound,
standing next to a wall.
That would be up on my wall, framed.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'll give you another one. So Robert Parrish. So I was very fortunate. The Chief. So I'd have to put.
You're
Robert
a Showtime
Parrish.
Lakers fan. What's going on?
I know this is bad news as a Lakers fan, but in 1993 I went to the D Brown Robert Parrish camp in Boston, obviously. Wow. And it was Robert Parrish, D Brown, and Clifford Ray, who Dallas Maverick, and they were the three guys who ran the camp. And I was 17 years old, 1993, and myself, Gavin Love, and a guy called Mark Cooper, three of us, we won the campus 3-on-3 competition. And for a bit of fun, we got to play, you guessed it, E. Brown, Robert Parrish, and Clifford Ray in just a larkabout 3-on-3.
What?
So,
Ross, you've left this
You've
to the
just
end of
sat
the
on
show.
this.
So Gavin Love is marking current NBA slam dunk champion D. Brown. I'm man marking like a bad fitting suit Robert Parrish,
Jeez.
and 5'8" Mark Cooper is marking, what was he, like 6'10" Clifford Ray. Oh man, I mean, as a 17-year-old, it just didn't get any better than that. And
Please
actually,
say you
Robert
got pictures
Parrish,
of this on your wall.
somebody's got a picture somewhere, but we didn't have camera phones then. And so Robert Parrish just turns around and he goes to make this jump shot on me, and I just got my fingers to his shot, and it came off the front of the hoop, and I technically blocked Robert Parrish. And
Oh, amazing.
and I'll be honest with you, it just didn't get any better than that. So I'll probably have to put Robert Parrish in there purely because I had the privilege of playing him in a 3-on-3 pickup game.
Hang on. Robert
in
Parrish
1993.
rejected in 93 by Ross Mackenzie. Done. Right, that's on the list.
All right. So how many he's got so far? He's got 4 in there, hasn't he?
I don't know. Who we got in there?
Jordan Kobe, Rodman Parrish. My
And
favourite video of Parrish
who-
is when he's punching Bill Lane Beer like in the back of the head.
Bill
I think he
Lane
gets
Beer.
ejected
Oh,
from that.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think he
Amazing.
gets ejected in
mean-
that series.
Maybe like a John Stockton or somebody in there. Maybe maybe
Ooh.
John Stockton in my team somewhere.
Okay.
You can tell what kind of era NBA kind of I really followed.
Yeah, the best era. The best era.
Probably the toughest as well. You know, we look at those Detroit Pistons. I've selected Rodman, but I'm thinking more Rodman when he was a Chicago Bull.
We met
So, yeah.
we met
So many. It's impossible.
John Sally.
John Sally.
We met John
Oh,
Sally.
yeah.
Yeah, he came down to Portsmouth in
88.
89, I
89,
think,
88,
as
something like that.
as one championship. And Dennis Rodman was supposed to be there, but I think the story goes is Dennis Rodman pulled, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going. I'm doing this instead." But John Sally turned up.
Wow.
I got a picture of him
Something.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. 5. So that's
Yeah,
yes,
John
5.
Stockton,
Stockton gives you 5. One more space.
who's on the bench.
Well, now he's got one more space left, and then he can decide who's on the bench.
No, Jordan,
do you know
Kobe,
what?
Rodman,
I mean,
Parrish,
I'd probably-
Stockton. That's 5. One
I
on the
don't know
bench.
who's coming off the bench. I don't know who's coming off the bench, but I always thought Admiral David Robinson.
Yeah,
Was-
great player.
I remember looking at David Robinson and thinking, that guy is jacked.
Yeah.
I want to be like Dave. I want to look like David Robinson, because there's no athlete in the history of the NBA who looked like David Robinson in his prime. That guy was unbelievable, and he was a hell of a player.
There's a picture of him, Tim Duncan, and Wemby all together, and you go, I know Wemby's tall, but you look at Admiral and go, I mean, he's bigger than Duncan. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
So-
very, very cool player. Okay, so who would you have coming off the bench then out of those guys?
That was Robinson was coming off the bench, Mark.
Wasn't that my bench guy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
to come
So
on,
that is your
just-
bench guy.
Just to come on, just like flex. That's all you want Robinson to come on and do. If he's coming off the bench, it's like,
Who you swapping him out for?
I don't know. Probably. I haven't really picked any of the big centers, have I?
You leave that one to Pat.
So
Pat's going to sort that out.
yeah, I was going to say I put too many kind of like ones and twos in there. I mean, look, you're gonna have to have, if you're gonna have another big guy, it's got to be Shaq. Really, I mean, Shaq was unplayable. Really.
Yeah. Probably the most.
Look, I'm going
dominant
to give
player
you.
ever.
I'll give you number 7, Shaq, number
Wow.
7.
The only person to get a 7.
Ross, I know you'll like it. I don't know if you've seen it already, but there is a TV show out there, and it's all about the Showtime Lakers. It starts with Jerry Buss buying the Lakers, and it goes all
Yes.
the way to. Have you seen that?
I saw it, and it was called Winning Time.
Winning Time with the Showtime Lakers. I loved that show. That was great.
It was amazing. I'm gutted that they've just sold the franchise, actually, but I suppose one day it was going to be inevitable. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what the split is, but what they all get like 2 billion each. I don't know. Or,
I'm sure they'll do all right
is there
with it.
4 or 5? I can't remember. No, I think there's 4.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Jeannie Buss is kind of like she is the top woman, where she's the top dude at Lakers, isn't she, Jeannie? So
Yeah.
I don't know. She got anybody else in with her? I think she's kind of like all conquering, isn't she? So I would imagine she's probably got most of it. So,
Yeah, I know at some point, like, because Jerry Buss was handing out like different parts of his businesses over to his kids. Like, she had the Lakers. I think another one of his sons took on the football, the indoor football, and maybe tennis, I want to say. There's a couple of Netflix shows that really go into it. It's great. But actually, I want to say maybe he might have 6 kids. 2 different marriages, 6 kids, I think.
Listen, we've talked about, we've hinted on this on the show about when teams get changed and money comes into a team and everyone goes, oh, what's going to happen? And then it suddenly doesn't go the right way. It's the main thing they're talking about with the Lakers, basically, is that it's a big conglomerate who's bought them. So you go, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I think positively, I think Mark, is it Walton, who's bought it?
Yep.
He's got a pretty good track record with the Dodgers. I think he's part of the Chelsea ownership structure as well. I think by all accounts, he's a good bloke. And from what I've been doing a little bit of research in the last 24 hours, and by all accounts, he's a guy who will back up with investment. And I think they're in safe hands. I really do.
Yeah, he's been part of the I think he's got as a shareholder for quite a few years there now anyway, so they know what they're doing. They all know what they're doing, but it is interesting. Look, you're talking to a bitter Seattle Sonics fan here, so I don't like it when people get bought. It's bad. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Ross, we wish you and the Plymouth Raiders all the best of luck for the upcoming season. It's just annoying that it ends in March and we got to wait till like October pretty much to watch games again. It does feel like a long time. But look, we wish all of you in Plymouth good luck for next year's season. And to
you guys, yeah, I'm more looking forward to Portsmouth again than any team that we will face. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, Ross, thank you so much for joining us on this show. And if you want to go look at Plymouth, go look at all of the stuff that they've got on the socials. Go check out the Raiders and obviously Plymouth Mahjong now. So go check everything out. Thank you for listening to the show this week. I have been Mark.
And I have been Paul. And we've been talking to Ross Mackenzie, chairman of the Plymouth Raiders.
Let's go.
And look, real quick, huge thank you to our listeners. We're approaching, I think we've gone past 800,000 downloads in like 18 months. So huge thank you to our listeners. Good night.